You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast. Carlee is off to a great start making funny noises on her coffee mug just got stuck to the coaster.
I have one job.
We'll just we're gonna let that ride unedited because that's the way we do things. It makes for the best. No, you're all good. Everybody, for the month of July, we are bringing you married couples that are somehow managing to work together and build businesses. This is another incredible week. We have two amazing friends of mine, Chris and Carlee Marhefka. I should say Carlee and Chris Marhefka. I should always put the ladies first.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
We always know who's the real boss, right?
She notices it, yeah.
And Carlee and Chris Marhefka, founders of B3 Gym and startup Eat the 80, a health-conscious meal prep business bringing farm-to-table food directly to your door.
Directly.
And I cannot wait to get into it. Guys, say good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Collin, for having us on.
Yes. And thank you, Ty. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for coming.
Here.
Ty, what's going on in the Best of Gainesville world, man?
A lot of things, but I kind of wanted to take a little road trip for Best of Gainesville this weekend. I was in Tallahassee, which usually I'm not too excited to have to spend time up there. But I found myself in this place called the Railroad Square Art Park, which is brand new. It's really cool. It's a 10-minute walk from FAMU or FSU. It's where Proof Brewing is, and if you don't know what Proof Brewing is, they're like the Swamp Head of Tallahassee.
Okay.
Swamp Head and Proof actually did a collab, Florida State weekend for a beer. It's pretty good. So I was up there Sunday and kind of trolled around, and it was pretty nice. So if you're in Tallahassee this summer or whenever, there's a
Nobody
spot
from
for
here
you.
goes to Tallahassee, Ty.
I've never been. I have no plans of going. No.
But it was good. It was unique. A lot of little local shops. It kind of reminds me of Grove Street plus downtown. It's nice that they're kind of trying up there too.
Yeah, are you gonna do a Best of Tallahassee, Ty?
No, but that was our April Fools this year.
Was it?
Yeah. We got a few people. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Great.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, Chris, Carlee, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm like, who will be very energetic on the show at 8 o'clock in the morning? And I knew you guys would have it. Fitness people. What time do you actually start your day, Chris? Are you guys at the same time, or are you guys different times?
No, we're a little different. Yeah. No, I start about 6:30, 7 o'clock usually. Yeah, I'm not a super early riser, mostly because I'm a late night thinker. Yeah, and I think you probably resonate with that a little bit, is that when you're up till 4 a.m. working, it's hard to also then get up an hour later
what time
and
did you say?
Survive. 3 or 4, yeah.
Really? You stay up that late?
Occasionally. I try not to every night, but it happens sometimes.
I get a lot of emails from my husband that have happened over the night. So I wake up and I'm like, what were you doing? Why do I have 15 documents? I just saw you. I had no emails, and now I have 35
That's
emails
pretty standard,
in my inbox. Yeah.
Carlee's actually the earlier riser of the two of us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ty, what time do you start your morning?
Podcast mornings are my early mornings.
They are. So this is early for you.
6, and then mostly 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so I'm trying
I'm a late night guy too.
Become more of a early morning person. It's tough. I try to start at 5 a.m.
Kids, though, right?
But Shannon really I can't say, I'm getting up and getting the kids ready for school, because Shannon will be like, liar!
Called
out on the podcast.
Wrong.
So Shannon definitely gets the kids off to their morning mile. You guys would be proud. My son Schaefer ran over 500 miles in the school year.
That is mind-blowing.
Wow.
For anybody who doesn't know what this morning mile program is,
incredible.
a lot of the elementary schools do it, I guess, around here.
Yeah.
And they get out. I think it's for the kids to get out and burn off that early morning energy.
Yes.
And
It's
they
amazing.
get out there and they run laps.
Yeah.
And Schaefer runs at least a 5K every single morning. Maddox wasn't even going to his school yet, or going to that elementary school yet. And he gets out there and runs. He did over 200.
Wow.
And
So
he's
awesome.
4 years old.
He's 4.
it's crazy.
And that's Talbot?
Nugget
it's
running.
crazy, right?
We should have a
200
morning
miles.
mile for adults. That's what we should have. No?
I would
I got a lot of
half a mile for sure.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, you guys, we always like to try to kick things off with the origin stories a little bit. Mm-hmm. I see that they already brought us food. Are these warmed up, or do we have to eat them warm, or?
Yeah, you definitely want to heat that.
I think
hot.
they warmed them up for you.
Okay, so because the food is warm, so everybody who's listening to the podcast on audio, you're not seeing the video, which you should go check out the video sometime because it's pretty cool. Because they have this food startup. Is it a startup still? How many years are you guys in right now? I mean, 5 years or less.
Startup?
I don't know.
We're 4.
4. Okay, so they're
yeah.
getting past the startup stage,
we're
which is
close.
awesome. Doesn't even matter. They're crushing it. We'll get into that in a minute.
Doesn't feel like it sometimes.
But they brought some food for us to try, and this. I mean, food. If you have a food company, your chances of getting on the show at this point are a lot higher.
Yeah.
So, like, just holler at us. And no, because, I mean, we like sampling the food on the podcast. It's fun for time.
Right.
So,
What's the address where they can send the food here?
Yeah.
just have people start sending
That's
stuff.
like the application process.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you noticed, like, on the Facebook channel, we're starting to get hit up a lot about, like, requests for shout-outs to charitable organizations and that kind of. And I'll tell you guys, like, Ty and I will do that at some point for the ones that we are personally involved in for sure. Because, I mean, I know that we're both heavily involved with certain organizations here in town. But I don't want the 1 hour session to be nothing but shout outs to great charitable organizations. So, so if we don't shout you out, I would say I'm sorry. but also, like, on our Facebook page, if you hit the messenger button and just say, hey, WHOA GNV Podcast, what's up? It will auto reply with a link to nominate somebody. And so if you think there's a charitable organization that should be on the podcast, or if you know an entrepreneur that should be on the podcast, or just like we've had just incredible individuals like Nate Farrell and Neil Anderson, you know, like if you know just incredible individuals that I think would be great to be on the podcast, nominate them there on Facebook, and we'll go through those. So we're already scheduling out through like September and October at this point.
That's
so it's getting really, really crazy. So all right, so back to food.
Cool. Back to food.
What are we going to try here? What is this?
This is our breakfast scramble. It's got pasture raised eggs. So we get our eggs from a local farm. We have a sweet potato, spinach, and grass-fed beef scramble. Got a little bit of rosemary and thyme, and I think that's it. So it's perfect for breakfast. I actually eat it all throughout the day because I love eggs. So if you're a breakfast person, you'll love it. But if you like eggs, you could eat it all day.
Awesome. I'm going to try it right here.
And I hate to do it, but I'm not a red meat person.
Oh, that's
really?
okay.
Yeah, I'm bad.
That's totally fine.
I'm
Eat
sure
it, Ty.
It's for the podcast.
It's really, really good. Now, you guys, breakfast wasn't always part of the menu, right? You guys were doing mainly like lunches and dinners, or is that pretty new?
Just lunch when we first started.
Yeah.
And then we've slowly branched out, added more options.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I am not very traditional, and neither is Chris in our eating style. We'll eat whatever for any meal, but people want to be told, eat this at this time. So we'll have meals, I'm like, I eat that for dinner, but they want to be told it's for lunch. So we will tell you exactly when to eat your meals.
Yes,
that is a breakfast meal.
Technically, we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Every week, we've got like 25 to 30 different menu items you can choose from. So it's a ton of variety.
Dude, I have a personal assistant now that says you eat this at this time.
Brilliant.
It's fantastic,
Well, it is excellent, guys. Thanks so much for bringing it.
Hey,
I want to save this. Ladies, Brooklyn, can one of you guys take this?
You don't want to have lots of chewing noises.
On that, not during the show, but it is excellent. Thank you guys for bringing it. I'm definitely going to eat it as soon as the show is over.
On that note, with the food variety, if you're more of a breakfast person, can you load up?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we have 3 breakfast options on the menu right now, but our menu constantly changes. So we have a nutritionist on staff who basically helps us balance all the meals and then make sure we have a ton of variety. So every week we're adding new options, so you can't get bored.
I feel like we've jumped so far ahead. So everybody's listening to like, what are you guys talking about? Like, so tell us your story. Tell us how, where your lives as entrepreneurs began, and why Eat the 80, and what is Eat the 80, so everybody who's listening actually understands that.
I feel like your story starts first, so I feel like we have to back up with you.
Yeah, it definitely starts earlier.
And for everybody,
earlier on,
like, I'm wearing a classic tee
Vintage,
on the show.
we like to call that.
Body by Boris.
That is old school right there.
Who is Boris?
Check that out.
Does anybody know?
We can tie that story. Yeah. So
I've known Chris for a long time. People don't know.
Yeah, that's right. We go way
back.
So yeah, I would say first right off the bat is I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur, like growing up. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I knew it from day one, mostly because I didn't even know the word entrepreneur existed. I didn't know that was a thing. And so I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family. And but what I did know is that I really liked working hard. I liked working for myself. I liked like driving something I was passionate about. Fast forward, graduating out of college, starting a job that I shouldn't have ever been doing in the first place. Hated it, was miserable.
Do you mind telling us what it was?
Yeah, I was doing like life insurance and financial services sales down in South Florida. And it was just like the textbook. It was like the textbook path of like, guy goes to college, doesn't know what he wants to do, goes to preview, has to select a major, selects business, okay, and then narrows into finance, and then like, okay, what do you do with finance? I actually had a job leading up to college, and that's a whole nother story, but lost a really good job because it was 2008, and ended up doing that. Did it for about 8 months, really unhappy, and so really just quit, had what I called my quarter life crisis, traveled a little bit, got involved helping out a friend starting a business, and they were getting a gym started, and you know what, I love the hustle. I loved the hard work, and I loved just doing something I was passionate about.
And the sweat.
And the sweat.
Literally
lots,
the sweat.
Lots
sweaty guy.
and lots of it. And so fast forward, started what was Body by Boris in Gainesville back in late 2000, like December 2009. And then, which is now B3 Gym. And then probably about 4 or 5 years into that, we had grown that. It was kind of moving along, and I was itching for something more, which is where Eat the 80 came along, which I'll let you jump in, because that's kind of where your entrepreneur journey starts.
Whew. Well, I feel like you left out.
I left out a lot. That was the short story.
That's the short version.
I'm the story girl, and there's these details.
There's a lot of details.
Well, give us the long Carlee story then.
Yeah.
I do have to say, Chris, not only was he so miserable in his desk job, can you imagine this guy in a suit, first of all? That just doesn't resonate in my brain. But he was so miserable, he was gaining all of this weight.
Yeah.
So he was like 50 pounds heavier, which is mind-blowing to even think about. Yeah. And you had no AC in your car. So he's like sweaty, overweight, driving across South Florida to this job that he hates with no shirt on. He said he would like take his jacket off.
So you guys were together during this time?
No.
We hadn't even met yet.
This is like bedtime story years later.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about what you did.
Yeah, so that actually is true. I was driving my college car, no AC, and it was so hot in the summers in South Florida, I had to drive shirtless to work, get there early, which is actually a good benefit of being shirtless, because I would have to towel off in the parking lot and then throw my dress shirt and my suit on to go into the office.
He still drives shirtless, so that habit hasn't left him, but now he does it by choice.
Yeah. So there's a fun story for the listeners.
And then when he was building the gym with his friend Grant, they would sleep on the floor at the gym so that they could wake up in the morning and just get right to work.
That is a practice that I carried with me
Which
for
he
a
also
long
still
time.
does. Yeah.
I do that occasionally, yeah.
So good habits die hard, I guess.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So Carlee, when did you come into play in all this?
So I met Chris when I was in college. It was my senior year, and I just gotten dumped, which sucks.
Not by me.
Yeah. It hurt real bad. And I think I was looking for a non-traditional breakup get-over strategy. I didn't want to eat ice cream and sit on my couch. And one of my girlfriends at the time said, my boyfriend's friend is starting this boot camp. Do you want to join? Like, yeah, I guess. I've never worked out a day in my life. But I'm sad and I'm sitting on the couch, so I have nothing better to do. So we show up on this field, and there's this handsome man standing there with all these wacky tools that he was going to use to torture us. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I didn't vomit, but I came really close. I definitely cried, but it's so mixed with sweat at that point. You're not really sure like what's happening. And I remember I texted my mom. I'm like, okay, I just did this thing. It's this boot camp. It was so friggin' hard, but I'm totally going back because this guy's really cute. She was like, didn't you just break up with somebody? I'm like, yeah, it's fine. So anyway, we were pretty inseparable after that. I like to preface that with, it was very early on in the company. We have a no dating policy now with our staff and employees, but it was definitely something that we just clicked. We started hanging out right away, and I was really also enticed with the business side. So I see this guy sending out this newsletter, and it had like 30 different fonts. It was like Comic Sans and Times New Roman and red, orange, yellow. I'm like,
I've got to go back and find one of those.
I need to screenshot it.
Frame it and put it in the office.
It was bad. So I'm like, hey, I'm poor college student. Why don't I do some trading? I'll help you out with your newsletter, your website, things like that. And I started helping out with the gym, and I loved it. I was so intrigued by this spark that I saw in him. At the time, I was studying to become a teacher, and very similar to Chris, went into that only to find out that it was not for me. I was miserable. I have so much respect for teachers. It is the hardest job in the world. I say that even above entrepreneurship. It's thankless, and you get paid next to nothing, and you pour your heart and soul into these children, and it was so difficult. And I didn't leave because it was difficult. I left because I didn't feel fulfilled. And I felt fulfilled when I was at the gym helping Chris, seeing this difference we were making in people's lives, knowing that somebody was able to lose weight and spend more time with their children or their families, and they'd seen their dad die of a heart attack, and it was just a really great moment. So
how long did it take you to make that realization that teaching was not it?
I knew it right away. I ignored it, and that's, I think,
how long did you ignore it for?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And I luckily had a coach and a friend, my now husband, pushing me that whole time, saying, you don't have to be unhappy. You don't have to live a life that doesn't fulfill you. And it's scary, you know? I had $45,000 in debt from going to school, and you think you have to do what you went to school for. And that's all you know. And especially with elementary education, it was so specific. I'm like, I went to school to teach kids how to read. What else can I do? And I just knew in my heart that it wasn't for me. But if I didn't have that finger or sometimes full hand pushing me, it would have maybe even been longer before I took that leap.
And I got to say, I think that's like a story that so many people resonate with.
Yeah.
Like literally everyone at some point, you find yourself stuck in this thing, this job, this relationship that like you knew a long time ago is not right, but we still do it because we have these like sunk costs basically. We're like, we've already invested, so we just got to see this thing through. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize is that by seeing it through, you're giving up your most important opportunity cost, which is your time to like start and build something new. Yeah. And so I think that if like people are listening and they hear that and resonate with it, like think that through, and what is that in your life that like you're putting off, because there's never a right time to quit your job and start a business. Never a right time to like transition to something new. I mean, you guys probably had this with the podcast. It's like it was probably resonating in your head for a long time, and it just takes some catalyst. Is like find that as soon as you can, because living one day with being miserable and not fulfilled is just it's so sad. Yeah, it's one day too many.
Yeah, but so the relationship here is what led really to the push, though. I mean, my question to you is, if you did not have that push, would you still be teaching?
I don't think so. I think something would have broken within me eventually, but I think it would have happened later. I really do. Because we all have these internal struggles and these voices that feel so much louder when they're inside our head. And until you verbalize that and have somebody else walk you through it, it's really hard to get there on your own. That's why I have a coach now that helps me in my business, because having somebody to talk through these things, once you put it out there into the universe and have somebody talk you through it, it seems so much more doable. And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, there's no way, I can't do this. And the second I talked through it with Chris, he's like, you can do this, and I'm gonna be here to help you. And don't get me wrong, having the financial support made a huge difference. I wasn't on my own
because he's over there making millions, trillions of dollars. Like, baby, don't worry about it. I got you.
So it helped a lot. It did. But there were a lot of tears.
Chris is shaking his head to everybody who's listening. He's like, no.
Yeah. Not a million yet. Working towards it.
There's just so many problems and everything that you guys just talked about. I mean, even like the teaching aspect, and not what you guys did or anything. I'm like talking about like the fact that teachers are just unhappy. They're they want to help these children and don't have the resources, the pay, the capability. They're not getting it.
No.
And we're losing. Bad. I mean, the truth is we're losing amazing teachers
all the time. I forget where it's happening right now, where there's that massive walkout with
Shannon, my wife used
Oklahoma.
to be.
My mom's a teacher still at Oakview out in Newberry, and it's been pretty brutal. Yeah, it's tough.
I just remember thinking when I was a kid, I loved school. It was so magical, and I had these incredible teachers and this freedom to be creative. I remember we had a wax sculpture day where we all got to build backdrops and be wax sculptures out of the Harry Potter book. Like, nobody can do that anymore. I had all of these people from the Department of Education walking through my classroom, making sure that with a clipboard, at this time I was at this part of the book talking about these standards. There was no wax sculptures from Harry Potter. So I just lost a little bit of that spark.
It's funny because, like, as you're talking about that, I remember my sister when she was a kid. She would set up her like baby dolls and stuffed animals and be teaching to them.
Yeah.
Like that's what she did as her playtime. She would be a teacher. So I don't know. It's just it's interesting.
I still get to teach in my job now. So
it's just different,
in a different way,
and more fulfilling.
100%. Yeah.
So what led to the start? Of eat the 80. What was it where it's like, all right, so we've have this gym. Now you got involved with the gym, and it's like food business. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like what was that monumental moment?
You want to take that one?
Sure. So at the gym, this is a pretty standard way I think a lot of meal delivery companies start, but I think our story has a kind of a unique twist to it. So we see a need in the gym, right? We have all these people coming through our doors. They're making great progress and they're loving their results they're getting. But nutrition, right? Everybody has an issue with nutrition. You're not sure what to eat. You don't know what time to eat. You don't know the portions. You just don't eat at all, or you eat too much.
Or you eat the same thing, or you don't cook.
Right?
Yeah.
You go out to. I mean, everybody
But you don't understand.
struggles.
The pizza from Paisanos is just so.
Oh, I love Paisanos.
Oh, we're not going to disagree there.
No, I will never.
So good, and when you put the ranch dressing on top of it, Carlee, it's
magic.
Just, oh my gosh.
So that's a part of Eat the 82 is you don't have to give up the pizza. Yeah. So we talked about. And Chris had wanted to for a while bring in the nutrition piece, and we had tried grocery store tours and seminars in the gym. We would literally go to people's houses and throw stuff out of their pantries. And I don't even know if you're supposed to do that, but we did it. And we said, you know what? We have to skip all these extra steps and just give them the food. That's the least barrier to entry.
Possible. Eat this right now.
But we had two big problems. Problem one, we are not chefs. We're actually not that great of cooks at all. Please, speak for yourself. I'm not a great cook.
No, I'm really not.
It's like, well.
And we didn't have a kitchen. So kind of, again, the two barriers to starting a meal delivery company. So at the time, Chris was training Leah from Celebrations Catering and said, I've got this idea. I need your help. And he pitched the meal delivery company. He said, I want to create this company based on balance. I want to deliver these healthy meals right to their door. These are the requirements of the food I want to serve. Can you help me? And
Collin, I don't know if you've heard the full story, but Lee and I approached her. We met at the Starbucks on 16th and 13th, right down the street from here, on a Tuesday afternoon.
It was Tuesday? I always say it was Thursday.
No, it was a Tuesday.
Okay.
And that afternoon, we sent out, I think, a total of probably like 40 emails to friends and family. You probably got one if we looked into your email saying, hey, this is something we want to do. The following Monday, we were delivering our first meals.
Dang.
So we started a business in 5 days.
That's amazing.
We are activators.
Very much. She built the website over the weekend.
Yeah.
We were in the kitchen, like making sure everything was going well.
Like, you guys got this, right?
Yeah.
Good? Got some addresses.
We had 10 customers on Monday.
Yeah.
Like that's like my favorite of all the things that we've done. That's my favorite like entrepreneur story.
Because there's excuses all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, as entrepreneurs, what I think one of the things that defines an entrepreneur is the ability to execute.
100%.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like when setting up this podcast and doing that kind of. I mean, it took. I actually didn't really even know I was gonna, do this, and then, but when I started looking at the future, right? Like I need new scooters for less to be able to like maintain its own. So I was like, I'm gonna have to invest more because right now my general manager and we were running everything.
Yeah.
I was like, so I'm gonna have a general manager, but then have a service manager and a sales manager. That's gonna take extra investment. So let's start planning and prepping for that. And we did, and it's on the board behind me. It says first quarter, service manager, sales manager, like going through these steps and like checking these things off. Well, as soon as that was done, I mean, we executed. It was like overnight. I remember you and I sat down, and I'm like, Ty, I have this idea for a podcast, and I ordered all the stuff. Like 2 weeks later, everything comes in, it's set up, and I'm like, all right, like let's go. Let's do a trial run, and we did a trial one. And we actually and that was when we had Peyton come in. It literally, I wasn't even that was like a practice episode that I wasn't even expecting to put out. And I'm like, it's pretty good. Let's put it out there. Yeah. But you don't know.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have been emailing, and I've talked about it a couple times, emailing with feedback on the podcast. And I'm like, that's cool. Like I literally have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
Just like you don't have any idea how to cook.
Exactly.
But it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to figure out along the way. If we lose listeners because of it, it's all my fault. But that's the way it is. And I just know that in the long haul, because our intentions and our passion and like you don't stop. It's that perseverance, right? You just keep going, and this thing's already growing, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
So but you nailed it. That it's the progress over the perfection, right? If you wait till it's perfect, it's never going to happen.
Right.
And we definitely don't wait till it's perfect at Eat the 80. Lately, though, we felt like we've been running through some walls, and I think that's been a new challenge for us as we scale and we grow. But we've certainly not waited until anything's perfect, because if so, we would still be in the gym without a meal delivery company.
And so now, I don't know if you know this, Ty, like you guys are expanding outside of Gainesville. Right?
Actually, as of yesterday, we are 100%.
New news. Hold on. It's being announced right here. Hold on, everybody. Get this. Oh. Go ahead.
We are 100% national-based shipping company.
As of yesterday.
Yeah.
So you can ship all over the United States.
Except for Hawaii and Alaska.
Wow.
Sorry, Hawaii and Alaska listeners.
And I know we technically, that was a surprise, unintended reveal.
You heard it here first. Only on the WHOA GNV podcast.
Now the next time,
that's your exclusive right there.
Making a commercial out of that.
Do like a pregnancy announcement here.
Yes.
Every
Hold on,
time
are you pregnant?
I'm not. Every time I say of exciting news, people are like, "Oh, you're having a baby?" I'm like, "No, can I just not have a baby for a little while?" But so we are now a national company.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now I know that there's got to be a lot of challenges to that, right? Because you're shipping food.
Do you have another 5 hours?
All right. Well, give us the short version.
Yeah. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah. I mean, it's you think about it this way. You've got a really sensitive product, right? We ship fresh food. So like you have a very tight window you have to keep it in. And we ship across the country. There's a lot of variables from like here to like California. And it has to be perfect. And if it goes wrong, it's all on us. Like if UPS or FedEx screws up, like we can try to get something back from them, but like at the end of the day, that's our lost customer.
Which is a great lesson for business in general.
Yeah, like, when you have strategic partners, like you have to be very confident in their ability to execute, because, and that's what we're learning is that like at the end of the day, like if we send a $400 package across the country and that thing gets screwed up, guess what? We have to replace a $400 package. Like not only is that the margin and then some for the next like month or like months of that customer being there. And so I think that's where a lot of companies, and we can't even say it because we're not on the other side of it yet, but that's where a lot of people go wrong, is that you go to the next level and you can lose a lot of money really fast because the numbers are just bigger. And it's fortunately, like we stay really conservative. We try to stay really smart with our bets and make small bets and then learn from them, then make another one, learn from it, make another one. So we said yesterday, but realistically, like, our official launch isn't happening for months to where we're committing like lots of money nationwide. And we've been working on this for almost a year. Mm-hmm. So we've been testing this. We've been trying to make it happen for a really long time. And I think that's more of just our, just in our nature to like get it right, guess, check, reiterate, and then always be like figuring it out. I mean, it's so hard. We've screwed it up so many times that
screwed up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but we learn every time we do it. I mean, we're constantly like looking and seeing how Amazon's doing it. And we work with a consultant that actually has worked with Amazon, and they're like, hey, guess what? Amazon changes their packaging literally every week. Yeah. And so if they haven't figured it out, like, don't feel bad if you haven't figured it out yet, because there's always new things happening. There's always new technology, new packaging, whatever it is. Literally, we ordered from this company called nuts.com, and we contacted them. We're like, how do you guys do XYZ? Because it's awesome, and we want to steal that. And so we're always trying to like learn from other businesses, even if they're not in the same industry.
It's hard too to I think another challenge we've had is keeping the team motivated when we have hit those roadblocks and mistakes, because they see that failure and they're like, ooh, that hurt. And it's a blow to the team when so for example, I'll just tell what happened last week. Yeah. So we launched with the Whole30, which is a nutritional reset program. It's 30 days. It's supposed to help change your life. And it's this international company, crazy huge brand. We get into a partnership with them where they help us to launch our brand on their page, which is huge. We were the first Florida-based meal delivery company, first partner in Florida officially. And so they're like, okay, we're going to have this big launch for you. We're going to put you on our Instagram and our Facebook. We're going to put you on our mailing list. We're like, yeah, tight. That sounds great. So we go through as a team all these things we think we need to do. And the day comes, they unveil us on their website, and we're all so excited. And in that 24 hours when they told us they were going to launch, we hit a snag on our website, and our website wasn't ready. So the perfect storm of timing happened where they launched us. We had a snag on our website. It wasn't allowing people to see that we were national, even though we were. And so instead of this excitement on their Instagram, we started getting all of these haters. They're like, they're not a national company. Why would you even put that on, your page? They're not national. They're making this up. And so rather than seeing this like excitement and orders coming through, we have all of these people, and it wasn't that many, but it was just a couple trolls at the top. Then that's what you see. And our team's like, oh my God, did we just blow this launch?
We just missed opportunities. I mean, customers are going to the site and like getting confused, and like it didn't flow the way that it should. And I mean, unfortunately, sometimes you never get those opportunities back, but at the end of the day.
But it was a learning opportunity, right? So we take it back to the team and we say, okay, there are going to be a million more launches. Yep. What did we do wrong in this one, and how can we fix that going forward? Yes, it wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, we're still a Whole30 partner. And I think the interesting part too is that I'm learning now in our relationship is when we have bad days, it's not just me, right? It's him too. And I rely on him so much as my husband and my partner in business that it's sometimes really easy to default and say, like, I had a bad day. I need help. I'm going to dump on you. But I forget that we're in this together. So that's a new challenge, I think, even in itself.
Is it hard to break away? Like when you get home, are you guys still like talking about work all the time?
Yeah. I would be lying if I said we weren't up way too late last night talking business. And then our dog had diarrhea in the middle of the night, so that was a whole nother fun thing.
I mean, you just like, but you both love it so much that you don't even consider it work. Is what I presume. I know a lot of people are like, a lot of times I think Shannon's like, when you come home,
just
be home.
Stop. Yeah.
You know, and I'm just wondering if it's very different for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the way we talk about it, and I explain this to like my friends and people that are close to me too, is that like my business is like what I do is my life. Like we don't have kids yet. Like our hobbies happen to be our businesses. We like to work out. We like to be outside. We like to eat good food. And so it's the way that people like to talk about their kids. We like to talk about our business. And so I don't see it as something that's like we're always like complaining. It's more about like we're just excited about it. It's like that's what we're excited to talk about.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we do take it a little too far sometimes and have to like turn it off and say like this is the checkout time. Usually the one that draws the line, says like, hey, we're done for tonight. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think I would have it any other way, because if we were home and we weren't talking about like business, or if I don't know,
well, I don't want to live a life where I feel like I have to check out of my job because I was there before, right? So I wanted to check out of my job, and now I don't want to. And so it's really nice that I feel that fire all day long.
Yeah, it feels so good, doesn't it?
Right, yeah, it
But also,
does.
don't get me wrong, our home environment when we talk about business is always different though, because it's always almost like a debrief and a processing of the day, and like figuring out like it's that time to like think deeply, so that when we do it tomorrow and we go in the office setting, we can then do it better. Mm-hmm. And so in a way, like I think about that debrief is almost like therapeutic. Mm-hmm. And so we're generally just talking through things. It's not like we're doing like strategic planning and we're not like cranking out. Yeah, we're fried at that point.
It's not Carlee saying, look, Chris, like tomorrow I need you to do this, and this a lot better.
Yeah,
no. Not met. I'm gonna have to put in the chopping block.
I'm like, yep.
Don't get me wrong though, like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We have a lot of days where the conversations are tough, and I, as a little bit more of an emotional human, my default is to cry, which I'm really trying to work on. I haven't cried yet today, so that's good. But it's hard, you know. We're talking. It is our baby. Everything we have is invested into this company, and so if it doesn't work out, it's a problem. And so we put a lot of emotion and time into that. And so there are times when the conversations at night are a little bit more charged than they probably need to, and that's still something that we're trying to figure out too, is how do we talk to each other about this? How do we discuss it when I didn't meet Chris's expectations and I'm his wife? You know, that's a weird thing to talk about. Like, separate wife Carlee right now, but business Carlee didn't meet her role and expectation, and it's hard to separate those two.
Do you think that's the biggest challenge of being a husband and wife in a business, and if it's not, then what is?
That's a really good question.
I think that it's just life is already challenging, right? Like we have enough stuff that we deal with, and then we layer on top of that like all of the challenges of not only just having but growing a business, but it's just so many decisions that you have to make. There's so much fatigue. There's so much. So you just get worn down to the point to where you have to be the best version of yourself with your spouse and making these really hard decisions like 1,000 times a day. And I mean, we don't have kids yet, so I can't talk to that. I imagine it's extremely challenging. But when we do, I think we'll be very prepared because of the stress level you just learn to live with and manage. We just spent the weekend with my family and all of my nephews, and they're just running around in chaos, and we can just kind of like sit in it and be like, yeah, it's loud, but like this is like a day at the office. Like this is a FedEx emergency day where we're just running around.
Like a bunch of screaming children in diapers to a daily office.
People were scrambling, packing up. Yeah.
You know, you get like pressure from parents saying like, oh, like go be a lawyer, go be a doctor. I mean, do you guys get that pressure just in a different way? Like, it's time to have kids. Bring us the grandbabies.
If my mom is watching this, she's probably crushed I didn't announce that I was pregnant. Like, I come from a Jewish Italian family. I was supposed to be pregnant 5 years ago. So
at least,
no, but they really are supportive, and they understand that if we were to bring a child into this world right now, we would figure it out, but it is not the time.
Yeah. And back to your original question, I think the most challenging thing is just the communication. It's recognizing 100%. That we're both in this together. She might be having a bad day. I might be having a bad day. Maybe at the same time, maybe different times. Like, I think that's the challenge with any couple at any time, but it's just, it's that times 1,000 when you're running a business together, and you have to know when to shut up. You have to know when to be supportive, and everything in between.
And the best thing I think we did early on, and this was after a lot of head banging against the wall and tears, was figure out our lanes and stay in them.
Yep.
We do not do well when he's directly managing me, or vice versa. I would probably never manage him. But when we were starting, I just had no idea what I was doing. I went from school teacher to business owner overnight. And we never know what we're doing, right? That's kind of the secret. But I really didn't know what I was doing back then. And I was trying to be perfect all the time, and I wasn't meeting my expectations and his. And the second we figured out, okay, this is what I'm good at, and this is what you're good at, let's stay there, and then we'll debrief and talk about what, where to meet in the middle. That helped tremendously.
That's a good business lesson, because even if you're not a husband and wife in a partnership in a business, just having a partner in a business, knowing those lanes is important.
Yeah.
So
shared responsibility is usually a disaster. So we try to not step on each other's toes.
That's great, Ty.
Yeah, so as far as the logistical change and taking it from something local or just statewide to nationally, what's been the biggest change here locally? Have you had to up the size of your kitchen or change some of the vendors or local kind of farms you're sourcing from, or are you trying to keep it still local as you grow outward?
Yeah, we scaled up our kitchen about 2 years ago, and so we've been heading in this direction to be able to scale up, and we're still at a point to where we can sustain our business growth for a while here locally. The thing that we'll always have to keep up with is our staff, and so we're always hiring local people. We have 14, 15 people that we employ from here in Gainesville. So if you're an outstanding chef, come check us out.
We need some great people right now.
So we're still sourcing relatively locally and regionally. That always has changed over the last 4 years. For anyone that is not familiar with the agriculture business, that's a crazy business. Yeah. And so when you're working with small farms, you're working with families, you're working with nature, and there's a lot of variables there. And so we have lists of just dozens and dozens of suppliers. So when we need someone, we have someone to call. And so we have our regulars, but we also have our backups and backups to those backups. And so our nutrition manager that Carlee was referencing earlier, she also maintains relationships. Yeah, what's up, Chelsea? So she maintains those relationships. She's always seeking out new ones, and people will refer a farm our way. We're getting a new egg supplier because our current egg supplier couldn't keep up, and so always things like that are always happening. But we just roll with bunches.
I think the part where we're at now is every day is something we've never done before, and that's the weird part.
Yeah.
It's I've never ordered 20,000 of this before, but click, and it's just always a new challenge. And I think that's the scary part, is with the expansion came just unknown. And we talked about it. We told the team, we're gonna expand, we're gonna have more customers. And we had an event a couple weeks ago that essentially doubled our volume overnight. And they were prepared for it. We talked to them, but to actually feel the weight of doubling overnight, that was a different story. Wow. We had some long days last week.
And it's really hard because for anyone that's scaled a business or been a part of it, there's really two personalities. And I've come to realize this in an employee or a manager. It's the person that you give them a system and they can execute that system every day the same way really, really well. And then there's a person that sees that system and wants to change it every day. And they're the growth person, but you also have to have that consistent person. Yeah. So you're constantly hiring for both and trying to find the right balance of changing things up. And if you had that person who wants to change it, try to do the same thing every day, they would fail at it, and vice versa. And so like we're always like trying to find the right person to plug in at the right time. And I think that's been like the biggest challenge is we're trying to find talented people that can like keep up and like help us grow the business in the way that we want to. And that's hard to do, honestly.
For scaling it up, what's been the way, and I don't want you to give away all your secrets.
No worries.
But are you scaling it to kind of individuals or families? Are you guys starting to look at businesses and different things? Where do you see kind of Eat the 80 going as you grow nationally?
I would definitely say that we're currently still sticking to our core customer, direct to consumer. That has worked really well for us in the past, but I would not say that we're ignoring the B2B market. I mean, we do have some small relationships like that. We service companies, deliver them lunch, stuff like that. Yeah. We are looking at larger things as well. But in the meantime, like we're really trying to stick to our core competency and what we know works and where we can still make a margin that we need to, and that we can. We're just figuring that part out. And so we don't want to jump around to a bunch of different models. We know that they exist out there, but we also know that every new line of business that we go into, there's new competitors that we don't know, and there's new challenges that we don't know. And so
I would say that the more we've grown, the more specific we've actually gotten with
Tighten
who we're trying to target, which seems counterintuitive that you expand and you want to reach more people, but we're actually really like narrowing our focus on who we want to serve, because there's this crazy sea of people out there, right? And we have to be this voice, and you guys get that more than anybody at New Scooters for Less. You have to be this voice that stands out in this massive crowd of businesses. There's so much competition, but we're actually dialing it in even more as we grow.
Very cool.
So, sorry, I'm hitting mics and hitting the table legs and everything.
I smashed my coffee cup 3 seconds in. So
yeah, this is our podcast, and I'm the one who messes up. So I'm really, really intrigued by this, because I mean, you have all of this incredible stuff going on, and then there's still B3 Gym. Yeah. Like this growing powerhouse of a gym that you bought the building, you own it, it's over there, and I mean, from the outside in, it could be like, well, like, are you even focused on the gym? So I mean, you guys are serial entrepreneurs, so can we like talk about that a little bit? Because if I'm being honest, I'm in the same stage right now. You know, I've been setting up these systems and really getting New Scooters for Less on lock to where I want New Scooters for Less to be the #1 scooter dealership in the world, and I want to make Gainesville the scooter capital of the world, but I'm also starting this new media agency and doing a lot of these new things that are also passions of mine. Give me all of your expert advice. Like, you know, like how, I mean, you're talking about processes and structure. I mean, you know, what's going on at B3 Gym? Like,
we haven't even
check in. Do you
really mentioned it.
Like,
how does that work?
I will preface everything I say with, I have by no means figured it out. Like, I'm not the model to copy. I try to improve every day, try to get a little bit better, and if we see a problem, we fix it. So in saying that, I would use this analogy, Collin, is that back in our dating days, many, many moons ago, imagine you have two different girlfriends.
What?
And they both know each other exist, but you're both trying to tell them that they are the priority. It doesn't work. And so that's what I was trying to do in the first 2 years of Eat the 80, is I was trying to tell all my team over there that, hey, look, this is my priority. This is what I'm focused on. And then when I went to the gym, I would say, hey, you're my priority. This is what I'm focused on. It doesn't work. And
that analogy.
I know. But that's what it was. And that's how I was making both people feel, is they both knew that I was lying, because I was lying to myself. And after being away for a little bit, add on top of that another big project where I was actually living in LA in California for 3 months out of the year, and later on not actually physically being there, it made me realize that I had to draw some boundaries and create some true hierarchies of where I was spending my time, because I was being inefficient in a lot of places as opposed to doing well in one. And the gym was at a point to where it was running well. It was profitable. It was paying our coaches really well. And I knew that I had to build a structure around management. And so I committed before I made any changes, I committed to finding the ideal person, and I drew up all the characteristics and what they would need to be, and I found that person. And then I committed to training that person, getting them up to speed. And once I did that, I'd had the systems for many years. I just didn't have the right person implementing those systems. Once the two came together, it became easier. And by no means is it solved, but I mean, I check in there. I still work out there, so I'm there every day to at least do that. I think of myself as the mayor now. I show up, I shake the hands, I check in with our members, which is what I love doing anyways. I check in with our staff. I check in with our manager. We have a formal meeting once or twice a week, but that's about it. At the end of the day, it's a really solid business that I spent a lot of work on the early years building up a great reputation in the community. So we have good lead generation. We have good retention. Our manager is excellent at staff development, better than I am at staff development. And so I don't worry about it. I stopped losing sleep over the gym a while ago. And so it's allowed me to open up all that mental energy to put towards Eat the 80. And now I can honestly, genuinely say that my focus is on growing Eat the 80. And when I'm at the gym, I'm completely present there because I'm allowed to work when I'm not there, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, and you also touched in that conversation there about you went to LA for 3 months. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's talk about that for a second. Because if you don't know, Chris was recruited to be on this to host this TV show.
Yeah.
And it was called Altered.
Altered,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, what makes the story even better is how he actually got recruited to be on this. So, Carlee, tell us how
This Carlee's doing.
Yeah, this is all Carlee, and I love it. And I've heard the story before. That's why I want to touch on it, because I think it's just so entertaining and great, and will be excellent content for the podcast for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us, Carlee.
I mean, like every proud wife, I found my husband to be super handsome, and a friend of mine was working at Shape magazine at the time and posted a link on our Facebook saying they were looking for the top 50 hottest trainers in America. I'm like, ooh, I got one. So I submitted this paperwork. One day I asked him all these weird questions. I'm like, what's your favorite candy? And if you could be any animal, what would you be? And he's like, why are you asking me these things? I'm like, don't worry about it. So I find all these pictures on his Facebook. I submitted to Shape, and they didn't even tell us. I think it was just one day I was looking, and
in the magazine,
they sent you or me a link to the magazine article, and they're like, "Oh
surprise,
yeah, here's."
It's like, oh, by the way, you're a 50 hottest trainer in America.
Yeah.
What number are you for real?
I think they did it by state. So
they didn't number.
You were like Florida's hottest trainer.
But if they did,
you know, Collin, you know. So anyway. Fast forward 2 years later, a production company finds him through the magazine. And no joke, he thought it was a joke. He's like, this is bullshit. There's no way a
you know how much
company.
spam we get, emails.
But the link in their signature had their production company, so we click it and we're like, okay, it's a legit website. So if they are, BSing, at least it's a real website, or they put together a good fake website. And then the Skype interviews started, and
I mean, we're talking 6 to 8 months of casting. It wasn't like we just got the email and it was there, but
they flew a crew to Gainesville to film him and see how he did on camera. And if you know Chris, he loves to be on camera. So it was a match made in heaven. And true story, I actually got to interview for the part as well.
Nice.
Didn't turn out as well for me, but that's okay. We got the call on our drive to the airport for our honeymoon. And we've been waiting anxiously for this call. We know that it's coming. I had interviewed for the female role, and he had interviewed for the male role for this weight loss show. And so first Paul's like, hey, Carlee, you're a great girl. Thanks for interviewing, but wasn't a great fit. He's like, next.
Chris there?
Chris, yeah. Literally. That's how the conversation went. And so then they're like, okay, bad news is over. Chris, we really dig you, man. We'd love to have you as part of the show. We're like, what? Yeah. So in this moment of like, okay, that's kind of a bummer, we were like, you're going to be on TV for a whole season as a weight loss specialist. It was so crazy. Yeah.
And so you were like I remember you were going back and forth from Gainesville to LA. Like, it's not the shortest trip in the world. Making that in and out and recording. And then it got picked up for second season.
Yeah.
I mean, how many seasons are there?
So we finished filming second season. It hasn't actually aired yet. But first season was hard because they were all figuring everything out. And so I found myself back and forth cross country. Like, a lot. Oh, I don't even know how many times. But there's at one point, I remember flying back to Gainesville
for a weekend
on a Friday, and then having to fly back on like Sunday night.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
for 48 hours. Yeah.
It was draining. It was crushing.
But I would say he loved the LA life.
Yeah,
he really did.
I'm not fancy, but I did like Hollywood life.
Well, it's nice too to check out every once in a while, right? I mean, we were on different coasts, and I think it allowed you to figure out your time boundaries, like you said. Yeah. You got to actually be out of the business for a minute, and
I had to work very efficiently because, I mean, obviously East Coast, West Coast time, like I had to wake up a little bit earlier if I needed to get on the phone. I would film all day long, and so I didn't really have that much time to work, so I just had to delegate really well. It actually made me better being completely checked out, but also it made me a better person too. I was able to like draw those boundaries. I was able to find some strengths actually, because I wasn't, when you're in the business, like you can run around, you can do everything, you can solve these problems, but like when you can't physically do that, you have to communicate better. You have to find out different ways to connect with your staff over the phone or over Skype. And so, yeah, I think it was positive. I mean, didn't feel like it at the time. It felt really stressful. And honestly, at that time, both businesses were stagnant, took a little slide back in some ways. But I think it helped us learn a lot that we wouldn't be able to move forward without doing that little experiment. So
it's funny too. People would ask me all the time. They're like, "Do you need anything? Can I bring you anything? Are you okay?" And don't get me wrong, it was so kind for people to offer that. But at the same time, I'm like, kind of offended. Like I'm an adult running a business and my husband is gone. I'm okay, guys. And I think too, it allowed me to kind of find my own way. When he was gone, I couldn't rely on him to make decisions, and so I had to just figure it out. And I think that was healthy for us too.
Yeah, I remember it was cool. It was exciting. You did a little night at the gym. We all came and watched the show.
Yeah.
We got to use your
series
beanbag.
premiere.
World's best beanbags.
Yep.
Corduroy, shout out. Another
there you go.
Gainesville business. There you go. I have like so many more questions. Yeah. So do you guys have, do you have time? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We have a little extra like after the podcast show that I call the side hustle, after the pod side hustle.
Love it.
And I'm going to get you guys to answer these other questions, and we'll put that on the WHOA GNV Podcast Facebook page. So go look for it there. We usually release the episode Monday mornings at 8 a.m. So if you're looking for the episode, it's the side hustle comes out on Tuesdays the next day. So if you're looking for it, go check it out. But we have what we're starting to call like our Gainesville wrap up. Okay. So these are like, we need the answers to be very short and sweet. So we'll go back and forth.
It's hard for me to do.
All right. We haven't done this before. Now we've had questions about Gainesville, but like Ty and I actually spent some time coming up with what we thought were the perfect questions. So we'll go back and forth, shoot these questions, and just finish the last 5 minutes short and sweet. And so Ty, you want to go first?
Yeah, let's do it. So, what's the most underrated aspect of living here in Gainesville?
I would say access to nature. You can drive 5 minutes out of town, and you're in the middle of it.
Lost.
Yep, you can get lost for sure. I think you don't have that a lot of places.
Yeah, I agree.
We are
outdoorsy people, and having WHOA and all of these nature hikes and the water so close, it makes a huge difference.
Okay, so this might be somewhat related. It's a perfect weekend in Gainesville. What are your top 3 go-to activities?
I mean, we always start our weekend with a workout at B3 Gym. That's how it sets
Saturday
the tone
morning,
for the rest of the weekend. Then we typically do some sort of brunch. We're big foodies, right? So the Daily Green has been a new favorite of mine that I absolutely love. Their healthy options. And then we take the dogs on some sort of long nature walk.
Nature walk,
so,
for sure.
We can't take them to LeChua because they'll get murdered by the alligators. But we definitely have found some really great trails that they love.
Yeah.
Cool.
What local business or person do you both look up to and why?
Collin and Ty.
Or different people.
Suck up.
Yeah.
I'll schedule them for podcast number 2. November.
Yeah. That's a good question.
I know recently I've really enjoyed, and I know you've already had him on the podcast, but I've really enjoyed working with Brad Gamble from the Selling Factory. He has been such an amazing resource for this community. He's got such a wealth of information in sales, and he's the nicest guy in the world.
100%.
And he just knows a lot about how to sell, and it's been a huge tool for me not having that experience. So
The Selling Factory. Go check out episode 2.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
He's incredibly genuine. He's really good at what he does. Honestly, he's probably been mentioned before, but actually his former boss, Rich, another super genuine guy. He was one of my first mentors here in Gainesville. And
Rich Blazer. Correct?
Rich Blazer, yeah. So I would say he's an incredible asset. A lot of people don't know he invests, and he's helping to build Gainesville big outside time. Of Infinite Energy, but of course there's that $1 billion company that he also
Tech City.
We'll try to reach out to him.
Exactly.
Are you guys involved in that at all, or looking at it?
You just got to speak a little bit to some of the people out there, right?
You know, we're not involved with it at all, obviously, other than knowing Mitch and Rich, but we know some of the companies that are going in there, and we'd love to be involved in any way that we can help out, feed them, for sure. But
everybody needs to eat.
Yes, they
food
do.
Desert up there in Alachua.
It really is.
Yeah. But not involved with that project. But
Blank is my favorite Gator sport.
Football. Yeah.
Does anybody answer anything else?
Well, I mean, we're kind of in the middle of baseball right now. But
That's true. Yeah, we
doing
play
well.
Thursday night.
Boom, baby.
Yeah.
But football.
What is something or somewhere local that you love but you don't do or go to enough?
Well, I can't say Curia because I go to Curia every single morning. If you haven't had their coffee, it is the best. What that we want to do more of? That's another good question. I think just more date nights in general. I'm a big fan of the date night. I think just low key. Oh, the Hippodrome. That's what I would say.
That's a good one.
We tried to go actually a couple days ago, and the movie we were wanting to see wasn't playing. But I think we both really enjoy going to the Hip. It's a great date night.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
It's very affordable.
Yeah.
Favorite local beer?
I don't drink beer. But I love that the Cypress and Grove, they have some kombucha on tap and they have wine. So,
one of our Eat Daily staff is actually one of the brew master. I don't know if you call it brew master, but at Cypress and Grove. So we got to give them a shout out. Yeah, Stetson.
Yeah.
There you go.
Never bring Carlee and Chris. They plug too.
No, actually, frankly, neither one of us are really beer people. I'm a terrible connoisseur of beer, so don't take my advice on beer.
If you guys aren't eating an Eat the 80 meal, where do you guys go? What's your favorite restaurant?
Cheat meal? Nah, I wouldn't call it a cheat meal, but Paisanos.
Oh. Yeah, I am 100%. A Paisanos connoisseur.
Yeah. What's
the order?
That's our 20 for sure.
Chris and we had a couple nights at my house, even eating Paisanos pizza.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's just so good.
It's so good.
I don't know
kind of
what
pizza?
It is.
So,
what's the order?
I have a really ridiculous order. So I do go gluten-free, and I also have a tomato allergy, so I have to get a white pizza. So it's white, gluten-free, but it's so good. The Aloha, so it's delish.
All right, final question. You ready? If the WHOA GNV podcast could help you build a relationship with one new person, who would it be?
Can I answer it in a a profile, but not a specific person.
Sure.
So I am really looking to connect with female business owners that are strong, independent, charging their own business. It's wonderful having my husband as a role model and partner.
But he's not good enough, is what you're saying.
He's not a lady.
Get better.
There's just something special about having a female connection.
No,
so
100%.
other strong female business owners would be fantastic.
Chris, you?
Man, it's a good question. I'll sort of steal that same answer. I think I'm really good at when I want to connect with someone, I actually just reach out. She thinks I'm crazy. I do it all the time.
What's the worst that can happen? They say no.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think there's a specific individual, but if there's someone that I haven't thought of in my mind that wants to reach out to me, I would say please do it, because I'll actually meet with you for coffee at Curia. And I would steal that same answer of people that are aspiring or growing entrepreneurs and business owners. I love just connecting with very passionate people that love what they do and just want to get better. That fires me up more than anything, whether it's a student or an 80-year-old man, like whatever. If you're passionate, like I want to meet with you. Yeah, it's
short and sweet, baby.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. You guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome.
That was
Congratulations
so
on all the success and the expanding nationally. That's
Thank
pretty
you.
cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
You know, I know you said something about looking for chefs. So, you know, employees, team members, like where can people find you? How can they apply? Like any of that information that people can reach out to you.
Yeah. So email addresses are just our names at eatthea80.com. So Carlee at eatthea80 or Chris at eatthea80. They can reach out to us directly. They can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. So, and then of course our website, eatthea80.com.
Yeah, I'll always take an opportunity for a shameless plug and just say that obviously if you want to try Eat the 80, go out and do it. But more importantly, my mission is always finding great people to work there. And if you're passionate about food and you want to work in a really cool freaking place and you want to be part of a growing business, we would love to talk to you. So
cool. Maybe we'll see a post on Eat Gainesville about the opportunity for Eat the 80 this week.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you.
True story. They used to have this. Chris used to wear this white shirt. I don't know. You guys probably all had them. It was just the Eat the 80.
Yep.
And it had
with the fork and the knife. Yeah.
Like, is that still the logo, or do you guys do some rebrand? Yeah.
True story. I made that on Square 4 years ago, and it is still the logo.
So they made that logo, and I almost made a shirt that had it upside down, like the fork and knife upside down, that said "Eat the 20."
I didn't know that story, but yeah, that would have been good. No.
Dude, I was like, I'm gonna show up like to their gym one day wearing this "Eat the 20."
Yeah.
Eat the 20 shirt with the fork and knife like upside down.
Thing of paisanos in your hand.
Yeah.
Maybe in our coming WHOA GNV store.
So, yeah, we did, right? Like,
we're just gonna troll every business.
I love it.
You never know what's gonna happen.
All press is good press, right?
Yeah.
So, well, everybody, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast coming out of Gainesville, Florida, bringing you businesses and individuals that just make you go, whoa. Thank you guys again so much. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys.